Let's go unmute. And here we are. Hey, everybody. Let's see. It's my little camera. Hey, y'all. What's going on? Hello. And hi again. I think we're live. I think we're good to go. I'm going to just double check all the apparatuses. Nope. We are all systems go. I believe. Let's see. Okay. Okay. Yes, we are all systems go. Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's Mature Me Monday Live. If you're watching from wherever you're watching, on whatever you're watching, feel free to hit the share button. Hello to the TikTok. Feel free to push the share button on whatever you are watching this from. Welcome, welcome, welcome. If you do not know, it is me, honestly, me, but Coach D. Um, and what do we do here? Well, I'm gonna tell you what we do here. You're gonna hear it at the top, and you're gonna hear it at the end. Wait, hold on 1 second. I'm missing something. Is this it? Here at Honestly Me Cope with Coach D, we show up whole, we live honestly, and become fully. This is a place where emotional maturity meets spiritual formation. All right. Emotional maturity equals spiritual formation and transformation. We are putting the things together. We're not just out here just working on one part of our being, but we are looking to be whole or and deal holistically with every part of our being here. And so that's what we're trying to do. Make sure I got this right. Hold on. Is this it? I think that's it. No, that's not it. I'm looking for something that I want to make sure I do not forget. Okay, here it is. Okay, just highlight this so I don't forget it. And go back here. Oh, that's what it is. Okay. Okay. All right, so let's get started. Hey there, hey there. Oh, I see some people popping in. Sorry. Hello, hello. If you are popping in, please let me know that you're coming in. Let me know where you're coming in from and all the good things. I would love to know. We're going to get started talking about a holding pattern. I was definitely inspired in church yesterday, and the two words that came to mind, the thought that came to mind was holding pattern. We were talking about, from the standpoint of church, what it looks like when it feels like God has gone silent or is not speaking and that kind of thing. And one of the things that I was thinking about in lieu of that preach, teach, great time. Shout out to Pastor JP who preached the word. Shout out to his lovely, amazing wife and co-pastor, Pastor Stephanie of Fervent City Church in Delaware. So if you are local, if you know anything about it, you definitely want to get there. Okay, you want to get there. Oh, also I do coaching. So there you go. Click that. All right. I'm gonna kick that up there for a second. But there you go. All right. Hold on. Now this they done did some different stuff on here, which I'm liking. Yes, we got polls, we got all kinds of stuff. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm just now seeing this. But anywho, if you're interested in getting a free consultation, um, then you can click the QR code there. But anywho, I definitely heard while I was in church yesterday the idea of a holding pattern. So we're going to talk about what that is. Holding pattern is something that you might hear in aviation. I'm going to talk through what that means, and we're going to equate it to what that means potentially spiritually, emotionally, for your life, for the season that you may find yourself in. Okay. Again, if you are just joining me, wherever you're joining me from, please comment. Please be sure to share, do all the fun things that you know to do. Okay. Otherwise, I'm absolutely positively going to get started. So let's talk about when God has you in a holding pattern. Let's talk about it. Okay. So, what feels like delay may actually be divine instruction, protection, positioning, and preparation. And I also want to say we have been talking about becoming, we have been talking about wilderness seasons. And so a lot of these things will overlap, will sound similar, whatever you want to call it. However, you want to identify it, there are a lot of similarities. And sometimes when you're able to find conjoining definitions of things, thoughts, it helps to make things clear, right? Some people are, don't understand what wilderness season and all that other stuff. Some people, don't know all of what that means. This is Coach D here. I'm not taking no one. For coaching, I'm absolutely taking people. I'm absolutely taking people. Um, for coaching, I'm absolutely taking people. This is Coach D. Thank you so much for joining me. Absolutely. I'm going to put the QR code up one more time just so you can check that out. And so the thing about it is that there are some of these things are interchangeable, these concepts, these thoughts. So, but what came to me was just a different angle, a different way of expressing these seasons that we find ourselves in, these moments, these times in our lives that we find ourselves in. Definition helps to bring so much clarity, right? When we can identify it can remove the crazy sometimes. Sometimes you can feel just crazy and just like, is it just me? What is this? Especially for those of you, if you're anything like me, I would get very much into my head. And so I need a logical reason and understanding for why things are the way they are, why I'm feeling the way that I'm feeling, why it's just not making sense, because logic says 1 + 1 = 2. There are no other variables because that's what it is and that's what it's supposed to be. And so when it doesn't wind up being that way, sometimes it can cause you to spiral out. Sometimes it can just cause you to get into your head. It can cause you to feel a little bit cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. Okay. And so I'm here just to help bring definition, tips, practicality to some of the emotions we find ourselves in, some of the seasons that we might be in to help us navigate. Okay. Thank you everyone on TikTok for joining. Please say hi. All right. Say hi. Say something over there on TikTok. Hello. Say something. Y'all just be so rude sometimes. Y'all just pop in. Y'all don't say nothing. Give me an emoji, something. Do something over there. Okay, so we're going to dive back into this. A holding pattern is not failure. It is not abandonment. It is not always punishment. Sometimes it's God's ordained season of circling while heaven manages timing, conditions, readiness, and safe arrival. Okay, so let's talk about naming the frustration of a holding pattern. Let's start by naming the emotional reality of these seasons. These seasons where you are not used to be. I'm sorry, where you're not used to be, but you're also not where you thought you would be by now. You're moving, but it does not feel like progress. You're showing up, you're praying, you're obeying, you're trying, you're healing, you're growing, but somehow it still feels like you're circling. Many people assume that if they are not seeing visible progress, then nothing is happening. But a lot can be happening beneath the surface. And some of the hardest seasons are not the ones where everything falls apart. Sometimes the hardest seasons are the ones where nothing looks dramatically wrong or there is not as much progress as you hope. Okay. But nothing seems to be landing either. So nothing seems to be terribly wrong, but nothing seems to be landing either. Okay. So let's talk about this concept. In aviation, there is a term called holding pattern. A plane in the air close enough to the destination to know where it is going, but not yet cleared to land. It circles a designated area at a designated altitude until it receives further instruction. The plane is not lost. The pilot is not confused. The destination has not changed. So let's equate this spiritually. Let's talk about that. And spiritually, many of us have lived there. We know what God has showed us. We know what He has promised. We know what He put in us. But we have been circling and waiting for clearance. So for those of you out there, I want to ask you, have you ever been in a season where you knew you weren't lost, but you also knew you weren't landing yet? Okay. If you can relate to that, whether you're watching live or the replay, I want you to put that in the chat. And I'm going to repeat it again. Have you ever been in a season where you knew you weren't lost, but you knew you weren't landing yet? Okay. So literally the literal meaning of holding pattern in aviation, a holding pattern is not random. It is structured, controlled, and purposeful. A holding pattern can happen because of weather conditions, runway traffic, safety spacing, or because conditions on the ground are not ready for landing. The aircraft is told to maintain a certain path and altitude until further notice. And the key point in this is a holding pattern is not proof that the flight is failing. It is proof that the process is still being managed. Even while circling, the pilot still needs discipline. The pilot still needs communication. The pilot still needs fuel awareness, and the pilot still needs to remain calm. And the pilot still needs to trust the voice that is giving the instruction. That's where this can become spiritual. Many people are in a spiritual holding pattern. Okay. And many people in this pattern lose discipline because they mistake delay for dismissal. They mistake delay for dismissal. They stop stewarding themselves well because they get discouraged. One of the enemy strategy in a holding pattern is to make you think that the circling is pointless so that you stop stewarding yourself well while you wait. All right. So my question here for you guys, what has a holding pattern tempted you to do? Quit, settle, panic, numb out, second guess, and or compare. Again, what has a holding pattern tempted you to do? Quit, settle, panic, numb out, second guess, or compare. You can put it in the comments if you're watching, whether you're live or if you're watching a replay. Put hashtag replay and give me your response. Now, what a spiritual holding pattern actually is, let's talk about it. A spiritual holding pattern is a season where movement is restricted, not because God has changed his mind, but because God is managing your arrival. God may not be denying your landing. He may be managing your arrival. Okay. What it is not, a holding pattern is not being lost. That's the difference. Holding pattern is not being lost. Okay. Now unto him who is able to keep us from falling. Okay. Now unto him. Now unto him. I'm going to bring it up. Who is able to keep you. We're not the plane falling out the sky. Okay. We are not that. Now, it has happened in the news, some of these things, right? But he's able to keep us from falling. Thank you for that. And to present us faultless before the presence of his glory and with exceeding joy. All right. So we have to remember we're not falling. Okay. We're not falling. We're not lost. A holding pattern is not abandonment. A holding pattern is not always warfare. It can be, maybe, but it not always is. A holding pattern is not always punishment. And today I'm not talking about the patterns, the cycle. I call them cycles that we can put ourselves in. I'm talking about you are in a space where you're obeying, where you're checking off the list, and not from a haughty standpoint, right? But it's like, hey, I know I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. What is happening? What's going on? A holding pattern is often timing, formation, alignment, or protection. Many believers interpret every delay as the devil. Come on, we know about that. When sometimes it is the wisdom of God. Right? We always think we'd be ready to fast and pray, which is nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that at all. But we have to, that's why it's so important to have a relationship with God and to ask the questions. Because it may not always be what we think. We cannot assume. Okay? Let's talk about Isaiah 40:31. Waiting on the Lord. Waiting on the Lord is not passive. It is an active trust. It is sustained posture. It is strength renewing dependence. In scripture, waiting is not just sitting around hoping. Waiting is staying in position with expectancy. Okay? What's that airplane doing? What's that pilot doing? You're holding. The holding pattern is you holding your position. Holding your position, knowing that who's in your ear, who's in your headset, who's in your ear is going to give you next instruction. Is figuring this thing out. Is making a way. Is making a plan. Is making the way clear for you. Okay. So let's talk about why it feels so hard. Why waiting feels so hard. It confronts our need for control. Come on, the people that's in your ear, if you're a pilot, is in the control room, are they not? But we want to pilot, we want to run the plane and be in the control room at the same time. It exposes our attachment to timelines and to timing in general, and it reveals whether we trust God's heart or just prefer God's speed. Do we trust his heart or do we want warp speed? I'm a Trekkie. Warp speed. A lot of us are just tired of waiting, and we are tired of not being able to predict. Okay? Breathe. Why God puts us in holding pattern? Why does he do this? For protection. Okay? That's one reason. Sometimes you are ready to descend, but the runway is not clear. the way is not clear. And life that can look like an opportunity seems right, but the environment is not ready. The relationship looks promising, but the timing is off. And the assignment may be real, but the moment is not yet safe. And just because you are eager to land does not mean it is safe to land yet. Okay? Protection often feels like delay when you cannot see what God is sparing you from. Okay. So that's number one for protection. Number two, for formation. Holding patterns reveal what is in you. They show you how to respond when you cannot move at your preferred pace. Do you become impulsive? Do you become bitter? Do you become weary? Do you lose discipline? Do you start idolizing the outcome? Okay, wanting the outcome, wanting the gift more than the gift giver, that kind of stuff. Sometimes the holding pattern is less about what God is withholding from you and more about what God is building within you. Character is everything. God cares about the fruit that is on the inside of you and what you are producing, that is germinating. God, that's what God cares about. He cares about that way more than a destination, way more than your next season. He cares about what's going on in here. Okay. Number three, for alignment. Sometimes God is adjusting your approach. In aviation, it is not enough to arrive near the airport. The pilot needs the right descent, speed, angle, and timing. Spiritually, some of us are trying to enter the right destination with the wrong posture, wrong habits, wrong assumptions, or wrong emotional state. God may keep you circling because your arrival needs adjustment. Ooh, ouch. Just say ouch and breathe through it. Okay. If you follow me on my other social media outlets, I like to say just breathe because it's necessary for the mind, body, and spirit. Number four, for humility and dependence. Holding patterns make you stay in communication. They remind you that you still need instruction, discernment, grace, and daily dependence on God. Sometimes God uses the holding pattern to break our illusion of control and deepen our dependence on Him. God always wants to make sure our insides are secure, okay? That our mind, our spirit is not going to fall, our soul is not going to fall apart. And He certainly wants to make sure that we don't lose our dependency on Him, our relationship with Him. Okay? Let's see. Okay. So, next one. Let's talk about it. What the holding pattern reveals in us. Let's talk about that. It reveals our relationship with uncertainty. Many of us say we trust God, but uncertainty reveals how much of our peace was really built on predictability. Predictability. When things are undefined, can you still be ready? When there is no immediate update, can you still obey? When the answer is not yet, can you still worship? Those are some of the questions. It reveals our relationship with identity. A lot of people derive identity from momentum, productivity, visible success, or external validation. In a holding pattern, that gets challenged. If you're not landing big things, closing big things, launching big things, I'm doing air quotes because big is relative, achieving big things, then who are you? Listen, let me pause because I need to breathe. I need to breathe. Just listen, this tear me up. This this is this is an this is a time. This is why I love the song that talks about search me, O Lord. Search me, search me, search my heart. Search me, because we have to recognize what our motivation is when it comes to the feelings that come up, right? This is emotional maturity meets spiritual formation over here on Honestly Me with Coach D. And so we have to, the spiritual part is search my heart. I got the emotional part. I'm not going to let the emotion control me or dictate, but I still need to find out what is my motivation behind the emotion that's coming up right now. Why is that? It's type but a right. Yes, yes, Miss Tina. Yes. It's so true, because we have to get to the root of things, and a lot of times stuff comes up. We have to challenge why we're feeling the way we're feeling, why we are the way we are. And so many of us, I feel like the majority of people are so motivated by everything that they do and everything that makes the culture of this world go round, right? We're supposed to be believers, and we're supposed to have a spiritual perspective, and we're supposed to have a kingdom outlook, but we are really beguiled and drunken by the ideology of what the culture is. Okay. And what all of these things, doing the big things and landing the big things and closing the big deals, all of these things are these external motivations that feeds the senses, and that we know that the culture, the world loves this stuff. The gram loves it. The TikTok loves it. We're all feeding into the sensory. My money got to be up. I'm grinding. I'm a boss. I'm all these different things, soft life, all that stuff. We have to understand what our motivation is. God may be showing you where your identity has been attached to movement instead of being rooted in Him. Listen, this is tearing me up because I'm a person that feels like it's so important to see what you're doing. When you're a person that is results driven, if you're goal oriented, results driven, you want to see the labor that you're putting in. You want to see fruit from it. You want to see the results from what you're doing. And when you don't see that, it is very conflicting. It is very frustrating. It can spin you into a cycle of depression. It can send you into a space of worthlessness, because and not because I'm talking about the things that you're doing for God. I'm talking about the things that you're doing that you know is who you're supposed to be, your identity, your who God has told you you're supposed to be. I'm not even talking about the the stuff that we do based on our own ambitions, and 9 times out of 10 selfish ambition. I'm talking about the stuff that you know God put to your hands to do. That's a part of your assignment. And when you don't see results from that, when God said, when God sent you to do it, He told you to do it, and it's like, well, hold on, something's not matching, right? I'm gonna come back to that question, Miss Tina. I'm gonna definitely come back to that. Let me finish this segment out, and I'm gonna pull up your question. Where was I at? Because I was going on. Hold on. Let's see. Okay. God may be showing you where you are, where your identity has been attached to movement instead of rooted in Him. It reveals our emotional maturity. Do you know how to carry disappointment without becoming cynical? Do you know how to sit with tension without self sabotaging? Do you know how to remain soft before God while life feels unresolved? Holding patterns do not just test faith, they test maturity. It reveals our obedience. Obedience is easier when things move quickly. Obedience becomes deeper when you have to keep following with no immediate reward. There is an obedience that looks powerful in public, but there is another obedience that is proven in private when nothing is changing yet. I just pass out. Just pass out right there. I've talked about it on this channel before. I'll do another plug for it, especially because I see you on here, Miss Tina. I strongly suggest. Now, I don't know what way my camera is. I don't know if it's flipped to the right, to the left. I don't know. So hopefully you can see it. If you can't halfway see it, Hearing God's Voice. I suggest this book, especially for those if you are prophetic. This is for every believer, but especially if you feel like you are prophetic. I suggest this. One of the things, but I suggest this for any believer. If you're a believer, if you believe in Jesus Christ, okay. I suggest this for any believer if you're not sure, if you hear from God, if you can't hear from God. It's a great workbook. It's a study book. You can write in it. You can highlight. You see, I wrote some things, highlights, and all that stuff. But one of the things this book talks about is private victories. Public victories, private victories. And I love that because the private victories or private obedience is what helps to build our faith. Put this over here. It is what helps to build our faith, our confidence in God, our relationship with Him for us. So when we're in seasons of holding patterns, we can remember that God is not a man that He should lie. Okay. Neither the Son of Man that He should repent. We can remember these things. I'm going to, of course, reading your word, having prayer. But when God builds our faith, our stamina during the private victories or during private obedience, so that when we're in these seasons like this, we can have the fortitude to weather them and not go rogue because He's not talking repeatedly during the season of a holding pattern. All right. I'm going to bring up this question. Being that man was created to and carries the propensity to worship, why is it so hard to keep our posture of worship when our faith is challenged? That is exactly right. And that's why we have to ask God to examine. What's up with that? I think it has everything to do with pride. I think it has everything to do with our selfishness, right? I think that when our faith is, we don't look at God as God. We don't look at Him as sovereign. We don't look at Him as our Lord. There's a lot of ways we don't see God. We see Him as a person. And as soon as somebody doesn't do what we want them to do or what we would like for them to do, we're not covenantal people. Oftentimes, we are transactional people. Right. So when you look at like marriage, is most marriages the way that it is because are you serious? If this is real, this is adorable. Hold on. Well, hello. Hello. And so glad for you to join me. That's so cute. Hi, Jeremiah. Thank you so much. But yeah, it's so important that we understand that we're so we're transactional as opposed to covenantal, right? And so when we don't understand covenant, it is no matter what, okay? I am in this because I made a covenant, right? And we don't understand what love is. Somebody explained it. I was listening to a teaching earlier, and one of the ways that express love is that the way that we need to love is by way of making sure we can love, and when we're depleted, that we get filled back up by God. So the way we need to love and pour out our love, particularly, in horizontal relationships, is, of course, we got to go vertical, get it vertical, have the exchange vertically, get it download to us, get filled up vertically, so that we can be able to freely hand it out to our horizontal relationships to get filled back up vertically. If we're really trying to love like Christ. And I was like, my God, today, I could admittedly say, she not there yet. We not there yet. I can wholeheartedly, admittedly say, I'm not there yet. The concept is, I know it's God. I know it's beautiful. I know it's kingdom. I know it's biblical. I know it. But are we there yet? Whew. Listen, I hear you. Woo, I be needing to reset. I need to reset. I can, when I muster up the faith, when I muster up the courage, okay. But I can absolutely say I be the bounce back don't be fast now. It be taking a second on that love thing. It be taking a second on the bounce back, right? So let me move on to my next point. How are you supposed to go through a holding pattern? Let's talk about that. How are you supposed to go through a holding pattern? Stay in communication with God. Again, relationship. These are the things that carry us through times of ambiguity, times where it's not clear, times where it's like, what you say, what's going on, what's happening. Just like a pilot needs ongoing communication, you need prayer, reflection, listening, and discernment. This is not the time to go silent because you're frustrated. I got to do the squinty eye because it's not the time to go silent because you're frustrated. This is the time to stay close. Do not let the lack of visible movement reduce your prayer life. Do not let the lack of visible movement reduce your prayer life. We got to stick to the spiritual disciplines. Whew. Number 2, maintain your altitude. Spiritually, this means maintain your standards, your consistency, your devotion, your integrity, and your disciplines. Do not drop in character because you're delayed. Do not drop in faith because you're circling. And do not drop in obedience because you are tired. Woo! Breathe through that. Breathe through that. Just breathe through that. Listen, if you, this is why I say breathe through that. Because when we hear stuff that's like, that makes us, I don't know about that. It's a couple responses. It's either, I don't know about that. Okay, whatever. That's one response. Or we get the, oh my God, ouch. Either way, breathe through it. If you're feeling a lump in your throat, if you're feeling a little knot in your belly, a lump in your throat, if you're feeling a little tight in your chest, okay, because you're hearing the hard thing and it's landing for you, that's what we got to do. Okay. All right. Number 3. I can't count. Number 3. Steward your fuel. In aviation, fuel matters during a holding pattern. Spiritually and emotionally, fuel matters too. And physically, because, okay, she, me, her started getting back into the physical journey, some movement, all right, because that helps. That helps with stress levels. Of course, that helps with health in general. But it's like all parts. We got to be firing all cylinders here, okay? As far as health. In aviation, fuel matters during a holding pattern, spiritually and emotionally. Fuel matters too. What is feeding you? Yes, Miss T. Breathe in. And yes, strong meat for the hour. Yes. It's strong meat hour. Yes, ma'am. What is fueling you? What is feeding you? What is draining you? How are you replenishing yourself? What things do you need to do to stay sane? Literally. Quite literally. What things are you doing? What keeps you spiritually nourished, emotionally regulated, and mentally clear? Okay. Listen, greasy food will have you with fog brain. Now I feel good in the moment because you might be stressed out. Actually, I think it was last week. I was like, oh, cheesesteak. Last week or the week before, I think it was the week before. I was like, I just need a juicy cheesesteak with some cheese fries. Now, I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with having that once in a while. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm not saying that. But at the moment, it was absolutely, halfway hormonal because, lady time. But also emotionally, like I could just use a greasy something. What are you feeding yourself? But when you feed yourself the greasy food, not just in your body you feel bogged down, but when you eat unhealthy consistently. I remember I did go vegan for like a year. I did go vegan for like a year. And when I tell you, the first thing I noticed was my mental capacity. The first thing. Like that was the first difference, was mental clarity. Not feeling as weighed down and slow thinking, and that food can produce, certain foods, right? That meat can produce. I will go, I have meatless days still, meatless days. I will limit my meat intake. But when I tell you the just physically, it's a thing, guys. So what things are you doing? I love this. Miss Tina says sometimes it's my Sabbath, my time to rest. That had me on. Absolutely. Having pockets of rest, of regrouping, right? Whether it's physically, whether it's emotionally, only you can figure out the things that help to replenish those parts of you, help to add to you. Okay. What's my next one? Let's see. Let's go. Last part on this one, and this is just number 3. Okay. Let's start. On this segment, we're talking about how are you supposed to go through a holding pattern. Number 1 is staying in communication with God. Number 2 is maintain your altitude. Number 3 is steward your fuel. That's what we're talking about. And the last part on storage of fuel is a holding pattern will expose whether your life has healthy systems to sustain delay. All right. And no, that's not the last one for that one. Number 4, resist the urge to force descent. One of the greatest temptations in any waiting season or holding pattern is premature movement. People try to make something happen because the discomfort of waiting feels unbearable. I'm going to say it again because I messed it up. People try to make something happen because the discomfort of waiting feels unbearable. But just because you can move does not mean you are cleared to move. Just because you can move, it does not mean you are cleared to move, or you're supposed to move, authorized to move. Opportunity is not the same as clearance or authorization, I'm going to say. All right. This is the last one. Number 5. How you're supposed to move through a holding pattern. The last one is keep becoming while you circle. Keep becoming while you circle. Even if external movement is limited, internal development does not have to stop. You can become more disciplined. You can become more healed. You can become more focused. You can become more emotionally mature. You can become more spiritually discerning. So even if you're circling, you are not stagnant. Okay? I like that. Christina said, when I'm cranky, I need a salad and a walk and a nap. Absolutely. It's absolutely right. If that's what you need, if that's what works, absolutely right. That sounds good to me. Woo! All right, let's talk about it. I'm coming to a close. Your circling is not cancellation. Your circling is not cancellation. A holding pattern is not a canceled flight. It is a managed delay. The holding pattern I'm talking about is an intentional delay, managed delay, orchestrated delay. You're still assigned to the destination. God has not forgotten the promise. Your runway has not disappeared. Your future has not been revoked. What feels repetitive may actually be protective. What feels slow might actually be strategic. What feels frustrating may actually be formative. Because you have not been clear to just because you have not been cleared to land yet does not mean you are still. Let me say it again. Just because you have not been cleared to land yet does not mean you are not still called to arrive. Okay. So while you are circling, do not panic. Do not compare. Do not assume God is absent. Do not make permanent conclusions in a temporary holding pattern. Stay in communication, maintain your posture, steward your fuel, and keep becoming. And when the time is right, what looked like delay will make sense in light of safe arrival. Okay? I want y'all to put in the chat and I want you to say aloud with me. I want you to put it in the chat and I want you to say it aloud with me. Well, repeat after me, not with me. My circling is not cancellation. God is managing my arrival. I want y'all to say it. Put it in there. I'm going to put it in the comment section for y'all. My circling is not cancellation. Wait, I'll put it in here. There we go. Boom. Put it right here. There it is. Add it. And here you go. My circling is not cancellation. God is managing my arrival. That's what I want y'all to say. My circling is not cancellation. God is managing my arrival. All right? Say it. Say it out loud. Say it. Again, as we come to a close, if this word met y'all tonight, don't just leave inspired, but respond. Type in the chat, I am still on course. I'm still on course. I'm still on course. I want y'all to type that in the chat. I'm still on course. If you're a part of the replay gang, I want you to put it in the chat when you get to this part of the message. Put it in there. Hold on. I'm still on course. Change this one. Type in the chat. Boom. Type in the chat. I'm still on course. Yes. Love it. Love it. All right. After you do, type in the chat and say, I'm still on course. I need you to do these 3 things. Share this live with somebody who has been feeling delayed, stuck, or discouraged. And if you have not subscribed, please subscribe to this YouTube or wherever you're watching from, wherever you're catching this replay from. Please subscribe and come back next Monday for Mature Me Monday Live, because we're not just surviving these seasons, but we are learning how to walk through them well. If this message spoke directly to where you are, comment holding pattern below at the replay, so I know that this teaching reached you. Okay. Do it also. Here is my QR code. Boom. If you would like a free consultation, a 15, 20 minute consultation, a little, I think it's a half hour actually. But if you would like that, boom, scan that, screenshot this. If you're doing a screenshot, keep that. And that will take you to the link for that. That is all for today's and this week's Mature Me Monday Live. Woo! Give yourselves a round of applause. You made it through. You breathed through it. It's Honestly Me with Coach T. Show up whole, live honestly, and become fully. This is where emotional maturity meets spiritual formation, transformation. Okay. All right. Love you all. Bye.